क्लास नहीं है आज।
Nice. Streaming started, eh?
Started.
क्या 1 2 या 0 0? ठीक है, नहीं 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 ठीक है। So let's start with our current affairs, weekly current affairs session for today. Now the first news that you can see over here is about CARA. CARA issues guidelines to states for strengthening counseling during adoption. Now to understand what is CARA, first look at the thing that they're talking about something called as adoption. So you people understand what do we mean by adoption. Adoption means the child who is born from biological parents, this child will be given to some other parents who are not his or her biological parents. Now this is a legal process through which we go for adoption. Now in India or in any part of the world, adoption is a legal process which is allowed. There's a reason behind that. Reason is we believe that every child has the right to live in an environment which is quite healthy for his physical health, mental health, everything, psychological support he needs, everything. So this child also deserves to get the family environment. Now when it comes to this adoption process, this adoption takes place domestically as well as internationally. So let's say someone is adopting a child who is in India, and the parents who are going to adopt, they are also in India. So this will be domestic adoption. But there is a possibility of international adoption. Let's say some American couple, they come to India and now they want to adopt a child from India. That will be international adoption. Now as far as domestic and international adoption, both of these things are concerned. Okay, there's some issue, okay. Now when it comes to both of these adoption processes, we have some international conventions which deal with the process of adoption. One of that is Hague Convention. This Hague Convention is quite important. Hague Convention on Protection of Children and Cooperation in Respect of Inter-Country Adoption. So it is focusing on this inter-country adoption process, right? Now this convention specifically provides some guidelines to all the states regarding the process of adoption. Specifically, it promotes ethical, legal and transparent adoption processes. Now what happens over here? There is a possibility of misusing the adoption legal process to go for some illegal work. For example, there is something called child trafficking. So children are being sold from one country to the other country. This child trafficking can be done in the name of adoption, inter-country, or what we call as international adoption. This can be done. So this Hague Convention very clearly tells to each of the state that you have to prevent child trafficking, and for that all the guidelines are provided under this convention. Now is India part of this convention? Has India signed it? Yes, India has signed as well as ratified this Hague Convention in the year 2003. And you see, this convention says that every country should establish an authority, what we call as the central authority, which is going to cooperate with the central authorities of other countries. So for the international cooperation, we need one representative authority from your country. That you have to establish. Now, because India has already ratified it, India established that central authority. The name of this authority is CARA. C-A-R-A, that is Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay? This, why we created this particular body is because we have ratified this convention. Clear with this? Now, apart from this convention, we have United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Okay, just try to remember that this convention, this specifically talks about the right of every child to grow up in a family environment. This is told by this particular convention. Now see, our focus will be more on this Hague Convention, and to implement this Hague Convention, to create this body, we had to bring in some laws. Okay. Now, in India, when it comes to the process of child adoption, we have one ministry which is called as Ministry of Women and Child Development. This ministry is going to take care of all this child adoption process. Now, if you see all the laws present in Indian legal books, we get these three. One is Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, then Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Children Act 2015, it was amended in the year 2021, and Adoption Regulation 2022. These are the legal procedures or legal mechanisms available in India with respect to child adoption. Now, we need to focus on this part, this Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Children Act 2015. This act is very important. We said that from this Hague Convention, when we signed it, we ratified it, we had to create that central body. We created that central body, or this CARA, under this particular act. So this act has established it. You want to sit, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
You can if you want to. Anyway, we have online students. So what I was saying is, we have one body in India called as Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay, and this body is created under this act, Juvenile Justice Act of 2015. And this body takes care of all the process. The regulation of this child adoption is done using this particular body. Now this body is at the central level. At the state level, we are going to find out something called as SARA. That is State Adoption Resource Agencies. At the district level also we have some bodies like this District Child Protection Unit. Sometimes some NGOs are also allocated with some procedures related to child adoption. So they are named as Specialized Adoption Agencies, and there will be some welfare committees. All these bodies will be working in the same process of child adoption. We need to focus only on this Central Adoption Resource Authority. Now if we go back to the news, it was from the CARA, C-A-R-A, the Central Authority, which has given some directives or some guidelines to the states. So here they are saying that we need to provide psychological support to all these parents who are involved in this child adoption process. So this will involve those parents who are the biological parents of the child, as well as those who are going to adopt this child. So this psychological support has to be provided at the level of state, at the level of district, and for that, the SCARA has given the guideline that at district level and state level, please appoint some qualified counselors. These are the psychological counselors who will be there at district and state level. Okay, so that's all this news is all about. Next thing is about a Supreme Court judgment. No justification for only male heirs. Tribal women's big Supreme Court win. Now this article specifically talks about the inheritance right. Now one thing, when we say inheritance, it is about the transfer of property from your parents to the children. Normally what happens is, from one generation to the other generation, the property transfer is expected to be done in an equal manner. But because we were living in a traditional society or in a patriarchal society where mostly we observe that the property is transferred to males and not to females. Now, as far as this inheritance is concerned, or the issue of inheritance is concerned, it is part of personal laws. So you see, we have different religious groups, Hindus, Muslims, Christians. Every community comes up with its own personal laws. So when it comes to marriage, divorce, inheritance, all these things, for that they have got different laws. Now, as far as tribal communities are concerned, when we look at tribal population, there's one thing, we are providing some special rights to tribal population. So if you have ever read about this article 371, you must have gone through 5th schedule, 6th schedule, you'll find out that tribal population is being provided with some special protection. We try to protect their customs, their traditions. So we don't directly apply all the laws made by Parliament to the tribal population, right? Because we want to protect their customs and traditions. Now, before the year 2025, or before this particular judgment, what was happening? We have this Hindu Succession Act, which was brought in the year 1956. When originally this act was brought in, at that time, the property, this inheritance which used to take place, that was not on equal basis, especially for women. It was not equally transferred to women. But in the year 2005, this act was changed, and it was said very clearly that women will also get equal share in the property of their parents. Now, this was said very clearly in this act, but the problem is, because tribals are getting additional protection, because of that, this Hindu Succession Act was not applicable to the women who are from tribal communities. So tribal women were not benefiting from the provisions of this Hindu Succession Act. They were ruled, or they were getting regulated through the acts or through the customs and traditions which were present in their tribal community. And most of the times we have observed there, again the same thing, that there was no segment of equality. Now, in 2025, Supreme Court has come up with this judgment. In this case, Ramcharan versus Sukhram. They're saying excluding this tribal women goes completely against the Constitution, specifically Article 14 and Article 15, wherein we see discrimination, wherein we see it violates the principle of equality. Here, what specifically the writer is saying, or specifically the Supreme Court is saying, that we try to protect tribal rights, certainly. We respect the customs and traditions of tribal population, but that doesn't mean we will compromise with the constitutional values, the core constitutional value of equality or gender justice. And that's the reason they have simply said this is completely against the Constitution, and any custom cannot override the fundamental rights, specifically again the right to equality they are talking about. So we can say, after this particular judgment of 2025, what will happen simply is the tribal women will also get the same right as other women in India are getting under this Hindu Succession Act. That means the parents' property, when they will be inheriting, it will be equally transferred between the males and females. Okay, that's the judgment. Next, the next article is about this mitochondrial disease. Recently, 8 healthy babies born after IVF using DNA from 3 people. So they're talking about a concept called as 3 parents baby and mitochondrial replacement therapy. What is it all about? Just look at the basic part. First of all, what is this mitochondria? So if you have studied the basic part of science wherein we study that our body is made up of cells. In that cells, we have one thing called as mitochondria, which is called as the powerhouse of the cell. So this mitochondria, its job is to provide energy to that cell. So our entire body, majority of our body, or I can say around 90% of the energy that our body, that our cells are getting, that is through mitochondria, right? Now, the interesting thing about this mitochondria is it has its own DNA. See, in the cell we have nucleus. In that nucleus we see that in the chromosomes we see that DNA is present. That DNA is different. In the mitochondria there is a different DNA altogether which is present. And this DNA specifically helps in the energy production. It has nothing to do with other physical traits of your body like the color of your eyes or hair and whatever. All these physical characteristics or physical traits, they are coming from the DNA that is present in the nucleus of your cell. But as we are talking about this mitochondrial DNA, it only has one purpose: to control the energy production in this cell. Okay. Now, interesting thing is, we inherit this mitochondrial DNA only from our mother and not our father. So when a child is born, or let's say that embryo or that zygote formation, all that process takes place, there we are saying it's only the mother whose role becomes major when it comes to mitochondrial DNA. If you ask me, what about other DNA? When we talk about the nuclear DNA or the DNA that is present in the nucleus, well, that is formed through the DNA of your mother as well as your father. But when it comes to mitochondrial DNA, it comes from your mother only. Now this mitochondrial DNA, whose task is simply to produce the energy in the cell. When there is a problem with this mitochondrial DNA, if there is some kind of mutation, there is some kind of abnormality with this mitochondrial DNA, what happens is you will get this disease called as mitochondrial disease, wherein because there is problem with this DNA, so these cells will not be in a position to generate energy or produce energy. The task of mitochondria is to produce energy, and because there is a problem, it will not produce energy. Now when mitochondria is not producing energy, the cell will not get energy, your entire body will not get energy. So this kind of problem, because you are not getting any kind of energy, there is a possibility of death. Now this mitochondrial disease, most of the time you will see this will happen because of transfer of such mitochondria from mother to the child. Now this mitochondrial disease, whenever there is a possibility of mitochondrial disease, the doctors are a bit concerned. And now we have got one therapy to deal with this problem so that we can ensure that the children born, they do not suffer from this disease called as mitochondrial disease. We have this therapy called as mitochondrial replacement therapy. In short, we call it MRT. Okay? Here what happens? Here we require three people: the biological parents of the child, so mother, father, and we need one donor. Three people are needed. Now, as far as the nuclear DNA of this embryo, the child who will be born, we are talking about the embryo stage, this nuclear DNA will be formed through father and mother, these two. As far as mitochondrial DNA is concerned, we said it will come from mother. But in this case, if we take this mitochondria from this mother, there is a possibility of mitochondrial disease. Okay? So what we will do? We will take only this mitochondrial DNA part from this mother, this new mother, or this donor mother, we can say, donor woman. Now the child, this embryo will be formed. We can call such a child as three-parent baby, because the third parent is involved to provide this mitochondrial DNA. Rest all the DNA, because nuclear DNA is going to play a major role, considering the thing that all your physical traits will be resultant of this nuclear DNA. And the recent news is specifically talking about this mitochondrial replacement therapy only, because the news is in United Kingdom, what we see is this 8 healthy babies born after IVF using DNA from 3 people. They're talking about the same MRT therapy. So this is something we can say a new technology that we have developed in a good way. Now the next article is about Gujarat. Gujarat launches India's first tribal genome project to tackle inherited diseases. So Gujarat government has started or launched India's first tribal genome project. Now first of all, what is genome? Genome, when we say, we are talking about the entire DNA structure of your body. See, all the information about your body, all the physical traits and all are stored in your DNA. And when we bring entire DNA structure at one place, if we come to know the entire structure, what is the sequence of that structure, what comes after the other. Let's say you look at the entire DNA structure or entire genome like your book. Assume it as a book in which everything is written. So the book will have a specific order, the lines will be in the right order, there will be a specific sequence, and that sequence matters. Now this genome includes all your DNA structure, all your DNA sequence. If a person can understand what is there in your DNA, if a person can understand the entire sequence of your DNA, then the person can know almost anything about you. The point is, some people get some kind of genetic disease for which the medical science does not have any solution many a times. So if we try to know your genome, if we try to understand how your genes are formed, what is the sequence of those genes, how your DNA looks like, we can understand many things about you. We can even predict what kind of disease you are going to get in future. That is also possible. So for that, we go for something called as genome sequencing. We go for genome sequencing. So there are projects going on at the world stage, international level. There is a project, Genome India project, which is going on in India also. And now Gujarat government has started a separate project specifically focusing on tribal population. Okay, this Genome India project is also quite important for us right now because they are talking about this tribal genome. So we'll just look at this dimension. What they do in genome sequencing project, simply they will ask some volunteers to come and give their samples, or their DNA will be collected, and they will sequence entire DNA structure. When they sequence, they'll get to know many things about you. And when they do this for a lot of people, let's say 1,000 people from Hyderabad, their samples are collected, okay, and diverse population will consider. In that case, through those samples, they will come to know about the entire population living in this region. They'll get to know what kind of diseases this population can get, what kind of vulnerabilities these people have. Many things they will understand at the genetic level. Okay, so this genome sequencing project becomes important here because Gujarat has specifically focused on now the tribal population, considering that tribal population might be having genetic difference with respect to our mainstream population. So they are focusing on tribal population. Okay, so what they are saying, We'll be focusing on 2,000 tribal individuals from 17 districts. And the focus will be on some diseases like sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, hereditary cancers. Now these are those diseases which we call as genetic diseases. Right? Means if you go and ask doctor, why am I getting this disease? Doctor will be like, I don't know. There must be genetic. Many times doctors say that, do any of your family member have this kind of problem? They ask such questions. Why they ask? Because the genes are passed on. So there was some problem with the gene, because of which the same gene carried out to you, and that created a problem in you. Okay? So we will come to know about such diseases, and maybe we can come up with some solution for that. Otherwise, medical science has some limitations. They don't have solution for such diseases at present, at least. Okay? Next. What happened? No? Okay. Now next is, rehabilitation is not a fundamental right set by Supreme Court. Is this article important? What is rehabilitation? Changing the residence. In case of disasters. So let's say there is a disaster taking place over here. So some people have to be relocated. So we might call it relocation, but when we are saying rehabilitation, we're talking about habitation, habitat, or the locality where they live, their address, their locality, their habitation place, their habitat. That term habitat comes into picture. Rehabilitation means you're changing their habitat completely. Now what happens? Most of the times we talk about this rehabilitation. One way will be to look at it from the perspective of some disasters. At that time, obviously, we don't have any other option. We have to rescue them, change their location. But after the disaster is done, means everything is sorted out, they might come back. But let's say government is planning to build a highway or a metro or something, and your house is there on that plan. Whatever government has planned, there your house is there. Or your entire village is staying in that locality, and government is planning to build an airport or something in that area. Now what government does? Government comes up with a plan which we call as land acquisition plan. Government says, we will buy your land. We will pay you some amount of money, some compensation, and just leave your land and go wherever you want to. Right? And this land acquisition always remains controversial, because nobody likes to give away their land or their place to government. First of all, they are not satisfied with the compensation they are getting. Second, many times, many people are living in a particular area since years. Like their different generations have been staying there. So suddenly if you ask them to go and live wherever you want to, where will they go? Their livelihood will also be there. So whatever activities they do, whatever earnings they do, that is also in the same locality. So when you ask them to go to some other place, they'll be like, what will we do there? That's one problem. So what happens is, many times government comes up with this land acquisition plan plus something in extra, something beneficial to people, so that they will not protest much. So sometimes government says, we will also help you with the rehabilitation. We will help you with rehabilitation. So we will help you get some other place. We will give you as a compensation. We will also give you some other land in some other area. Also, we will give you some kind of livelihood, some kind of job or something. Such things are offered just to stop those protests. Although government doesn't easily accept all these things, rarely this happens. Okay, when many NGOs protest, there are so many articles written and so many protests are going on, then maybe government might think about it. But it's a burden on government also, because first of all, they're buying a land, that's a costly affair for them. Then giving them other land also, that's a costly affair. Giving them job, anyway government is not giving job. Giving job is a tough thing for them. So all these are problematic stuffs. Now what happens here when we are looking at this rehabilitation? Although court supports this idea of rehabilitation, because when government is taking away your land, we say that it is the responsibility of government to take care of you, but here Supreme Court is specifically saying it is not a right. It is not a right. Now here Supreme Court looks at the constitutional and legal dimension. Earlier, constitutionally, we had one right called as right to property. Right? Right to property was our fundamental right. So if it is a fundamental right, the problem is if government takes away any of your land, you can directly reach out to Supreme Court. Right? Fundamental rights cannot be violated. That was a problem. So later on amendments were made, and then this right to property was made legal right and not fundamental right. It is a right, but legal right. Okay. Now what is happening is the provisions in the law very clearly say that if government is taking away your land, government has to give fair compensation to you. It doesn't mean like government is taking your land which costs, let's say, 10 lakh rupees, and government is saying we'll give you 1 lakh, tata. This will not happen. Fair compensation has to be given. This is very clearly mentioned, and Supreme Court can scrutinize that, whether the fair compensation is given or not, that they might check. But here court is saying, if the fair compensation is being given, but after that when you expect that give me a job also, give me other place also, all these things, for that court is saying it is not your right. Government can provide that. You may ask for it, or government may provide that, considering whether they have all those resources or not. They may. But you can't come to court and say, I have not got any rehabilitation, I did not get any livelihood and all, so I want to file a case against central government or state government. They are saying you can't come to court for this reason. You go and ask government, not a problem, but don't come to court. So they are saying rehabilitation is not a right. Okay, for that they are talking about Article 21. In this Article 21, we have this right to livelihood. Article 21 talks about right to life and personal liberty, and I said this, that Article 21 is interpreted again and again differently. One of that interpretation is right to livelihood. Okay, so somewhere you have that right to get some job also, some kind of work also, and here they are saying no, it doesn't match with this provision, because you have got compensation for this process of land acquisition. Okay, any doubt on this? Yes? No? The next article is about Skill India Mission. Skill India Mission has completed 10 years. Now Skill India, why Skill India came into picture, there is a reason behind that. If you look at India's economy, if you look at the population structure of India, we say that India is a young country. Why? Why young? Why not old?
More adult population.
More?
Adult population.
Adult population.
18
Okay.
to 30 is more compared to other countries.
Okay, fine. So when you compare India's population with China's population, America's population, Japan's population, Germany's population, if you see the comparative analysis, you'll find out that the average age of these countries and our country is very different. Average age means simply we'll calculate the number of people in India and we will calculate their age. If young population will be more, average age will be less. If older population will be more, average age will be higher. Common sense. Now when we check this average age, we get to know that average age of India is somewhere around 28, 29. Okay. And that if we check with America or let's say other countries, it goes around 40, 45, 50 also. If you look at Japan or Germany, they are like, their population is getting very old. Now the good thing about having young population is, this is the population, if we provide them good education, if their health is good, there is a possibility this population will enter into economy. Okay, right now they don't have money, they don't have anything. But this is young population which will enter into economy. They will do something very productive. They'll do something. Some economic activity they will carry out. When you have so many people who are ready to work, obviously your economic growth will be there. Are you getting this point? Just because you have young population, because they are very energetic, they are ready to work, because older population will not be able to work. They might have money, but they'll not be able to do any kind of economic work as such, right? Neither children will be in a position to do that work, right? So there is something called dependent population and not dependent, or independent you can call them. Dependent includes your children and the older population. But this middle group is very productive economically. Now, just because a country has young population, there is a possibility. We can't guarantee that there will be economic growth. If we are young, even Pakistan is young. But we can't guarantee economic growth of Pakistan. There are different reasons behind that. So, when you have young population, you have to ensure that they get right education and their health is good, and you need additional thing that we call as the skills part. If they have got the skills, then they can get into some kind of economic sector. If you look at problem with India, we have decent health infrastructure, decent when we compare with other developing countries. We even have decent education system also. Problem is the skills part. Many of the people, or let's say you look at the engineering graduates, there are many reports which very clearly say that 80 to 90% of the engineering graduates, they are not having the capability, or they are not ready for a job as such. Even when they complete their engineering, when we take these people to the industry people will say, we can't take them, they're useless. So even after completing graduation of 4 years, this is something we call as skill gap that is present in India. We do not have this linkage between academics, see colleges or this academics, and industry. Once people complete their academics, they are supposed to get into this industry, some kind of industry. It is manufacturing, service sector, anything. The point is, to be ready for the industry, you need some skills. If you don't have that, it's useless. So now, if you have so many young people living in your country, if they get education, health and the skill part, what will happen? There will be economic growth of the country. If they do not get these things, what will happen? They won't get the job. No economic growth. No economic growth, that's a genuine reason, but genuine thing, but there will be other consequences. Burden, okay. Rather, there will be many social problems emerging out of it. Remove the economic dimension. These are the people who are young, energetic, and you are not utilizing their energy for some kind of productive work. What they will do is, they'll take some stones in the hand and then they'll throw and they'll say, Azad karenge. Kashmir azad hoke rahega. The point is, when people are unemployed or less educated, or you're not able to utilize their energy properly, specifically with the young population, they will get into other stuffs, other social problems, right? So you will get chaos if you do not have this economic stability, or if you have not given them education and skill to get into some job. So people who are employed, they will mostly they'll not be in part of all these protests. Getting the point? This will happen in the areas where there is high unemployment rate. So even now in India, because the unemployment rate is quite high even in India, even if we are growing, still unemployment rate is high. And that's a concerning figure for the society as well as government. Okay, even for government it's a big problem. Okay? So there's this word called as demographic dividend and demographic disaster, if you have ever heard. Demographic dividend, that means just because your country has got younger population more, that can be part of the economy. Because of that, you will get an extra benefit which other countries will not get. Other countries are also working, they also have economy, they are also putting on money on technology and all, but still you will get extra benefit just because of this young population. That is a possibility. If you get that, that will be a dividend, an extra profit we can call it. But if you don't do it, it will be a disaster. Okay? So development is a necessity of the government. It is not like they're doing it for charity or some with good intent. If they don't do it, there will be for sure a disaster. Clear? Now that was the reason we came up with this Skill India mission, considering skill gap that is present in India. Okay? So this was brought in the year 2015. The aim was to train 40 crore people by 2022. Now this was done by central government. So we have this Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. See, we have a separate ministry specifically to take care of the skill development part. Okay? And it's a central sector scheme. That means the funding for this scheme is being provided by central government only. It's not like there is a sharing among this state government and central government. No. Complete funding from central government. This ministry will take care of it. Now this Skill India mission is composed of different components. So there are different schemes which are part of it. You can just try to remember the names, that will be sufficient. For example, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, government first came up with this scheme, after that they launched second version of it, third version of it, and now they are working on this fourth version of the same scheme. Okay? Then Jan Shikshan Sansthan, here they are focusing on some vocational training. Okay, some kind of training so that you can become some kind of professional or you will learn some kind of trade. So vocational training is provided. Then PM National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, some kind of internship, this apprenticeship, this will be provided. And Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana. So just remember that these are the 4 components of this Skill India mission. Just a fact for prelims. Yes? Next, why merger of 2 black holes? So merger of 2 black holes. First of all, what is a black hole?
Geography not yet done.
Not yet done. Okay, it's part of science and tech, not geography.
That also not yet done.
Okay, very good. Still, you must have heard about it. This is like something anyone knows. There's something called black hole.
It's a black.
Yeah, it's black, sir.
It's
Ah.
something related to the universe.
Obviously. Yes, any idea? No idea?
Sir, if there is, I think he listened this what in the black hole theory is there, na, sir? Maybe.
Okay. Now see, if you do not know the basics, it's difficult, but still, let's try to understand. So just imagine we have different planets. Yes? Just zoom out. Okay, just zoom out. Earth, you'll see many planets. Zoom out, you'll see sun. Again zoom out, you'll see the entire galaxy in which such solar systems, so many solar systems are there. So many suns are there. Our sun is very small. There are larger suns. Okay. Now, if you look at entire universe, everywhere, everything that you see in this universe has got something called gravity. Earth has got gravity. Mars has got gravity. Sun has got gravity. Everything has got gravity. Okay. Something that will have more gravity. Now, if we get into the technical aspect, something which has got more mass will have more gravity. Something that will be more weighted. Okay. Basically, if you can understand this much. So, as compared to Earth, you will observe Sun has got more gravity. Okay. Now, anything that will have more gravity will attract others. Earth is putting gravity on Sun also, and Sun is also putting gravity on Earth. Okay, but who is more powerful? Sun. That's why Earth is moving around Sun. Not Sun is moving around Earth. Common sense? Yes? Now what happens? This happens throughout with all the bodies, celestial bodies we call them. Those are present in the universe. So as I said, our sun is very small. There are larger ones also. Okay. Now when these suns or these stars, sun is a star, when the star explodes and it dies completely, there is a process of a star. You will study that later on in science. But this star has a life cycle. has a life cycle. Just like we take a birth and then we die, similarly for a star also some kind of process is there. Because of very high gravity, the star, what will happen in gravity? It is attracting everything. Yes, just imagine if this thing has got gravity, it is attracting whatever is present, right? Now let's say there is nothing nearby. So what will happen? It is going to compress within and collapse. Are you understanding this part? From the core of this pen, attraction is there. Nothing is here. This part, at least this will collapse within. Yes. So in case of a star like Sun, a star which is way larger than Sun, which has got lot of gravity. It is so strong, that gravity is so strong that the star itself collapses. Are you getting the point? Yes? Now whatever is formed is called as black hole. Okay? Now why it is called black hole is because it is black. Simple. So now you can imagine it this way. When you look at stars, stars have got their own light. So we can see that. Because they have got light, that's why we have light over here. Or the planets, we can observe planets because of that visible light that we are getting. Right? Now, because of this energy, it's so strong, that gravity is so strong, we are saying, in the black hole, that it is attracting everything within, that even the light cannot travel. So there was light. Just imagine it this way. Let's say this is the star, and we can see the star looks, yes, bright, very bright. Right? But the gravity over here at the center, just imagine this way. It is so strong that it is not even letting this light go. This light is coming and it is coming till here. It is not letting come here. It is taking. Now what will be here? Complete darkness. Are you able to understand this now? Because it is dark, that's why we are calling it a black hole. Okay? Just to imagine, we can say it also looks like any other star, but like this. This is black hole. Will it be visible? It's black, it will not be visible. But it will become visible because of other thing. So what will happen in universe? There will be different stars, and light from different stars will come from here. Let's say here we have one star, here we have one star, here we have one star. The light of this star is coming here. The light of this star is also coming this side. Okay. Let's say the light is coming. Okay. You can see this star, no problem. This one, because it has become black hole, at least till this area, the inside part, you will not see light, because all has been attracted because of gravity. But will you see light over here, this part? Because see, till here its power can work. After this it will not work. So that's why you will see this kind of a ring structure. Okay, when you see the images of black hole, you will see somewhat like this, one kind of a circle you will see. Getting the point? Yes, so that's black hole, simple. So if I have to define, astronomical object with gravity so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape. Nothing can escape, forget about the light also. You cannot, like, you go there and you're gone to some other heaven, right? So even light cannot travel, so that shows its strength. Clear? You understand the black hole now? And this event horizon, this line, this part is called as event horizon. The name is given as event horizon. It's the boundary beyond which escape is impossible. Okay, this is the boundary. Till this part, this gravity is working, that black hole's gravity is working, and this line is called as event horizon. That is the final boundary. Yes? Now, because some stars are smaller, some are bigger, some are very big, so similarly black holes will also be smaller, larger, very large. So we have different categories. Like there is one category called as stellar mass black hole, intermediate mass black hole, and supermassive black hole. Now this smaller one. The smaller one is 20 times the sun's mass. So if you can imagine the size of the sun and the mass of the sun, 20 times that is the smallest black hole. Okay, so the mid one 100 times, and this is hundreds and thousands of the times of sun's mass will be there in this supermassive black hole. Okay, this is like beyond our imagination. Okay, now come to different black holes. Let's say we have this black hole number 1 over here and black hole number 2. Is black hole having gravity? Yes, it has gravity, obviously. Now these two also have gravity. Now see, when you look at different planets, different bodies in the universe, because they have gravity, they are attracting everything. So we have Earth, and then we have this. Where is the black hole, man? So we have one satellite, the satellite that we send, or the natural satellite that we have already. What is that natural satellite? Moon is a natural satellite. So Moon is revolving around the Earth. Because we have got stronger gravity, Moon has also got some gravity, its own gravity. If there is no gravity for Moon, what will happen? It will completely collapse into Earth. Are you understanding? Or if Earth has no gravity, Earth will collapse into Sun. Can you understand that? If Sun has not stronger gravity as such, it will collapse into some other body. Because every body is attracting every other body because of this gravity. So similarly, even these black holes, they are also going to attract each other. Okay? Now, both are attracting, and sometimes we even see something called as a new phenomena, that is black hole merger. Two black holes come closer, and boom. That's black hole merger. Now it's difficult to see or understand because this is not something you can see with your naked eyes as such. It's already black hole. You can't see anything, right? And there is no visible, see, whatever you see over here, it is because of the visible light. So when you study the electromagnetic spectrum, you will understand that if we remove visible light, even if there is light, you can't see everything. So if you go into space, with your naked eyes, you might not observe anything as such. Okay? Now here, to observe this, we have some technology right now. So we have these units called as LIGO, Virgo and Kagra observatories that are present. Okay, there's a complete network that we have built in. So what we do is, whenever any such merger happens, one black hole, second black hole, they merge. Because of this collision or merger, many waves are created, gravitational waves. So here the collision took place, some waves are created, just like in water, if you drop some stone, some waves are created, right? And those waves travel to a long distance. Yes, in the river also we can see that. So when it comes to these black holes, because of their merger, the waves which are created, those waves travel to distance which we can not even imagine. Okay, so those waves even travel to Earth. They reach out to our area also. So what we do is, on Earth we have established some observatories through which we are trying to study those waves, which we call as gravitational waves. Okay, so we have this LIGO, Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, quite famous. UPSC has asked question on this LIGO. Okay, when you will go through some PYQs, you will get to know about it. So there are two observatories or two detectors which are present in USA. Now we are even building one unit in India. So in India, specifically in Maharashtra, there is a place called Hingoli, part of Marathwada. So in that Hingoli, we are building this observatory, part of the same LIGO. Okay, it's an international collaboration. It's not like because we built it in USA, that means it belongs to USA. No, USA has made investment. India is also making the investment. They found out that the data that we can get from these units of USA, that is not sufficient. We can get better data because India is strategically located, and from this location we can get better gravitational waves related data. So we are building that in India. Okay. Similarly, Virgo located in Italy and Kagra in Japan. Okay, try to remember these names because this is particle physics, quite technical, but questions will be very easy from this section. Okay? So I hope you understand what is black hole, what is black hole merger, and what are these LIGO or this Virgo, Kagra. Yes, any doubt?
Sir, there was cryogenic means in that camera.
Remove that, don't think about it now. Cryogenic you will understand when you study space technology. So cryogenic involves very less temperature. Well, think about the temperature below zero. Can you think? Imagine and feel it. Now go 200 degrees Celsius, minus 200.
Ice cubes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, not ice cube. Ice cube is at 0 degree only. I am saying go to minus 200, minus 200, minus 250.
We can't imagine.
We can't imagine. So that is cryogenic temperature. Okay. Normal devices. Let's say I have built this mobile phone. It works really well over here in Hyderabad. But let's say I'm sitting in a refrigerator where the temperature is below zero, let's say. Will the mobile phone work properly there? No. You go to Siberia. In Siberia also mobile phones doesn't work properly. We observe that. So just imagine that temperature. That becomes tough. So when you send your spacecrafts, those spacecrafts, they need some energy. You're sending some rocket from here. So you have put some petrol, diesel, whatever you call it. Although they don't put petrol, they have a different specific kerosene, and they have different fuels also. They use that. Now, initially you used, but you want to go for a longer distance, let's say. So there is a limit to how much fuel you can put in. So there's something called as cryogenic engine that you can build in, wherein you will make all this engine in such a way that it will operate at very low temperature. So let's say even if I have petrol, I'll have to burn the petrol, right? To burn, which we call as the process of oxidation, is needed. Oxygen is needed, right? For this to happen, oxygen is needed. Now the problem is at that low temperature, will you find oxygen? First of all, will you find oxygen? Second, even if you find it, will it be in gaseous form? That's a problem. So many problems are there. For that we build these cryogenic engines, so that you will understand once you study space technology. Okay? Yeah, any doubt? No doubt? So that's it for today. Yes. Please ask if you have any doubt, or else we will just end the session.
Sir, right to rehabilitation is not a fundamental right, is it a statutory right? You said that the Supreme
No.
Court said that right to rehabilitation is the right, sir. Then again you said that it's not a constitutional, fundamental right, sir. Then what is it, a statutory right?
It is not a right as such.
Then
How it becomes conflicting? See, any right will become a legal right or statutory right when the parliament brings in some law. In the law they have mentioned that you are supposed to get this. Then it is a statutory right. If it is mentioned in constitution, then it is constitutional right. Now sometimes something is not written in constitution, still it becomes constitutional right, because Supreme Court comes up with interpretation. Like this right to livelihood and all. Right? Now just like Supreme Court interprets, we also interpret. Or we go to the court saying that, sir, see, he has taken my land and he is not giving me a new job also. This is my argument. The court is saying this is not your right. Okay, neither constitutional nor legal. It can become legal right if parliament passes the law. But we don't see parliament doing that, right? So it is not a right. Okay? Yes. But it is part of your DPSP, if you can see, directive principles. So state is supposed to take care of you to some extent. So is it a right? For me, if you're asking, because it is part of DPSP, I'll say yes, it is a right. But not justiciable. Court will not entertain you. Clear? Done? Okay. Thank you so much.